So what I'm gonna do, since it's a rebuilt rack, power steering rack, is I'm just gonna keep topping off the power steering reservoir. So I've got some extra here, and then also what I'm gonna do, since it's a brand new torque converter, is right in there, that hose right there that you see. I took that off of the transmission and I funneled it to a waste container. So it's gonna be see, here's the old hose that I took off, and then the new hose is right there. So this is from the radiator and it returns back into the transmission. So here's the old hose. And the reason why I'm doing that is because when you put a different torque converter in there, you'll want to run like a gallon or so out, just in case there's something inside of the torque converter. So I'm going to do that even though it's brand new, just in case there's metal shavings or something in there. And I did accidentally start the car. I was going to try to get it on camera, but I didn't really look at what the dash said, so I'm going to turn it back on and then I'll show you if there's any error codes. I want to say that none of these lug nuts have been torqued down, and even the axle nuts not torqued down. They're all loose. But I did do an alignment on both sides using a string. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first flush all these fluids out and then see if there's any lights. And then if everything's good, I'll torque everything down and then I'll take it for a test drive. Okay, you can see it's beeping because I can't take the key out because it's actually in neutral. And so what a couple people are saying on the forum is that when they first started the transmission, they felt a jolt because they thought the gears were meshing for the first time. To me, that doesn't make any sense because the gears are already meshed. The only thing that I think would make that jolt is because the parking pawl isn't fully engaged on the gear that stops the transmission. So when they start it, I think it's catching on the tooth and it's jolting the entire transmission. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep it in neutral. I have the whole front jacked up and it's the parking brakes on. And I'm only going to start for a few seconds because otherwise the power steering rack is going to run dry and my transmission fluid's going to empty really quick. Okay, so you can see it's actually in dry for some reason. So I'm going to put it in neutral. And I don't know if these lights are going to go off or not. So you can see I do have a check engine light. Oh, actually it went off. Okay, so I'm going to do it one more time. And I'm only going to start for a few seconds. Alright, I'm going to go check the fluids outside. Okay, so only a little bit came out of the power steering reservoir and barely anything came out of the transmission. So I'm going to run it for a little bit longer. So for some reason I have no check engine light, But I do realize that I should open my garage because the exhaust fumes are gonna get in here. Okay, so couple of things. I've been filling this up, but it's been going down pretty slow. I thought it would go down faster, but that's okay. Also heard like this weird, like whirring noise, like electrical motor noise, and I realized that I forgot to put coolant in it, so I'm gonna do that now. And also, since this has the second gear lubrication update, that thing right there, that hose, there's no way to fill it from the original fill bolt, so basically you just have to jerry rig a this is vinyl tubing I got from Home Depot. I use this size, and then I use like some pliers in here. I used a lighter to heat it up, and then the pliers, as it was heating up, I would spread this hole with the pliers, then rotate it and keep spreading it. It keeps wanting to close, so you have to keep opening it every once in a while. But then it goes down to a thicker vinyl tubing, and then finally it goes into the funnel. And it's the same funnel that I've got right here. I just bought like 3 of them because it was on sale or something. So I'm gonna fill it up, and it just like suddenly dumped like half a gallon of oil back out. So this thing, when it first starts, it takes a while, but once it starts circulating, it starts dumping it really fast, so you gotta watch it. Okay, so I finally filled it. I used the bungee cord right here, towed the funnel. So basically you just take the dipstick out and you jab the tube in there, and just like I said, I had to put some pliers in there and heat it up with a lighter to spread out the tube because it shrunk a little bit. I filled up the coolant. I just gotta make sure the air gets bled out. Anyways, I'll check it later. So I'm gonna start back up and see what it does. Oh, also, I reconnected the original hose back on, the one that goes back into the transmission, because I just realized that I only had 1 more gallon, so for me to test drive this thing, I need to have this thing full. Okay, here's the first test drive. And the only thing I noticed is the SRS light is on, but I have the bumper in the back seat, so I don't know if that's setting off the SRS code because the load's unbalanced. But the main thing is I have no check engine light, so I'm gonna put it through the gears and then take a test drive. So I did torque the lug nuts and the axle nut. So it's going in drive. And it went in reverse okay. Alright, I'm just gonna check the power steering fluid really quick. And it went into park. All the fluids seem to be okay, so I'm just gonna go for it. And I did the steering alignment using a string. I actually don't see any reason to take any of these cars to the shop to get alignment, because all you have to do is do the string alignment, and then if it's off by anything, just adjust it so it goes straight. Okay, I don't have my bumper on, so hopefully I don't get pulled over, but I've got my my temporary insurance card, so I should be okay. I don't remember if my tires are aired up or not. I think they are. And this gasoline's been sitting in the tank for like 8 months or something. I think the camera's falling off. There's a recent recall for the airbag, so I gotta take this into the dealer to get that replaced. This is like the second time they've done that. First thing I'm noticing is I can't feel when it shifts. I think it shifted there, but I can barely feel it. And it shifted there. It shifts like my Accord now, I think. Because before the shifting was really sluggish. It felt like it had not enough power. It's up to temperature. I don't know if you can see it or not, but I'm going to take it on the highway. I don't feel any vibration, so I think everything's okay. I can hardly feel the shifts. now I've got some vibration because I think the back rotors are warped, so I'll have to fix that some other time. That's actually where I work, right there, where that semi truck is. My truck's not there right now, but when my partner drops off my truck, I drive the yellow truck, and then we just haul frozen trailers with frozen French fries back and forth to the plants. Seems like it's running good. For some reason, it's not pulling to the right anymore. It's going pretty much straight. Or actually, it might be pulling to the left a little bit. But that's minor. I'll figure that out later. Third gear was slipping every once in a while, and so far I don't feel any slipping, which I shouldn't, because I replaced the whole thing. So basically, I think it took, because I work a 60-hour job, and my job's actually really stressful. It took 5 months just to do the rebuild after I got the transmission out, and then I think it took like 3 months to shoot the video of removing the transmission. It probably took 2 or 3 months to put everything back together. So that's like, actually I'm just gonna guess it's like about a year. So I definitely wouldn't want to do this again, especially if I messed up the transmission, but you can do it. And I used the Superior Translab shift kit. So it actually modifies the shifting through hardware pieces instead of software. It's kind of risky because if you mess it up, there's no way to order the metal separating plates. So if you drill in the wrong spot, or you drill the hole too big or too, basically if you mess up, your transmission is screwed. So you could go with the Sonax kit and just replace those parts. It's a lot safer and easier. Or you could just do nothing and just make sure all the valves are polished and moving freely. You're actually supposed to polish the bore, but I lightly polish the valves too, because because they were scored too. So I think polishing the valves also is, I think that's a cop. Anyways, basically, I'm gonna have a video up explaining everything that I did on how I took out the how I tore down the transmission and rebuilt it. That's gonna take a long time because it's a mess. It's not a massive file, but there's like hundreds, if not thousands of files, and they add up to like probably like 140 or 130 gigabytes. So it's gonna take a long time. And I've got some more things I want to do to this van, like put flexible solar panels on the roof, or maybe just the glass solar panels. And then I want to install a battery bank and put one of those Chinese diesel heaters in here. So I'm going to turn this thing into a stealth camper. So I'll probably try to waterproof the floor and put insulation. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that, if I'm going to stick it into the door panels or if I'm going to put it outside of the panels. But all that stuff's like a piece of cake compared to the transmission. I don't think there's anything else in this car that's as hard as rebuilding or even taking out the transmission, because it's a ridiculous amount of work. When I was doing the rebuild, it felt like it just went on forever. Like you would get done with one thing and then there would be something else and then something else, and it would feel like it was just never ending. And on top of that, it was difficulty level was like basically a 9 or maybe a 10. I did like the hardest rebuild you can imagine. I replaced every bearing, and I inspected and fixed every part in the transmission. So what I did wasn't easy. Some people just do like an easier rebuild where they don't fix everything, they don't replace all the bearings, and they don't check all the valves, or they don't replace them. But I did like the hardest rebuild you can imagine, and I put a lot of research into it. And I guess it paid off because everything seems like it's working. My best guess is this is why the SRS light is on, because the seat has sensors on it, I think. I don't know if the back ones have it, but usually the passenger seat does. And maybe it's detecting a load imbalance, like if a child was leaning against the window or something, and it would disable the airbags. So hopefully that's what the SRS light is, because I didn't touch the SRS connectors or anything, so I don't know why it would be giving me that error. I'm gonna try to show you some of the parts that I fixed on here. Okay, I don't know if I'm able to, but I rebuilt most of the front end. Yeah, it looks like I'm not gonna be able to, but it works.